we are going to read next satsang. The next satsang we are going to read is narrated by Sukhi Gill Auntie, and the title is After 100 Years, Sweet Water Gushes Out. Over these dozen years of my association with Guruji since 1995, many instances of his divine help have come to pass. Once we had bought land near Chandigarh in the Gauri village. Guruji asked us to put up a tubewell and grow vegetables there. The land was drilled for water. The bore went down 420 feet but found no water. A survey was done and it was found that the land did not have water. We went to Guruji in Delhi and told him about the survey. He told us to drill at a particular spot. Water gushes out. There was so much water that the pipes were in danger of bursting. And strangely, for groundwater, the water was sweet and brought out blue pebbles with it. We left for Delhi to thank Guruji. He said Guru Nanak Dev Ji took out water from the spot near where he was sitting. I have taken out water in your land sitting here in Delhi, and this water has come out after 100 years. The village of Dabgori was astonished. Guruji admonished us not to sell the water or else the well would dry up. Jai Guruji. The next satsang we are going to read is narrated by retired Colonel S.K. Joshi uncle, and the topic is When It Rained, Mercy on My Army Unit. While I was a group commander of the NSG during 1995 to 1998, the Director General was to inspect the unit. The soldiers worked very hard to get the unit spick and span. The unit road was swept clean of dust and even the leaves of the surrounding trees were brushed up. The tree trunks and the brick lining bordering the approach road to the unit got a paint of Geru, terracotta. The entire unit was ready for the inspection and hoping to get a shabash, well done, from the Director General. On the day, I was driving up from Delhi to Manesar at 7 in the morning. It started raining, then it turned torrential. By the time I neared Manesar, I could not help but be dejected. All the labor the unit boys had put in would be washed away. I prayed to Guruji that this not happen. I was amazed as I entered the unit gate. The unit grounds showed no signs of rain. The staff told me that it was raining everywhere, but not on the unit. As for the inspection, it exceeded expectations. The Director General said the unit was an example for other units. But as soon as the DG left, it started raining in my unit as well. The divine hand was evident. A devotee's sincere prayer had been enough to bring forth Guruji's grace. I felt as if a divine protective umbrella had been placed over the unit while it rained hard everywhere else. In the evening, when I went to Empire Estate, Guruji remarked on the event, testifying that it was he who had kept the rain from spoiling the show. Guruji takes care of me and my family in every way, as this incident shows. I have no words to thank the one who is above all. Jai Guruji. The next satsang we are going to read is narrated by Rita Narang Auntie, and the title is A Miracle of the Womb. My faith now tells me that Guruji guides us through such miracles. Those were my days of unhappiness in 1997. We already had a daughter and I was expecting my second child. The sex determination test in the 5th month told us that this would be another girl. We were desperate for a baby boy. We did not give up hope. I prayed and prayed. not giving up even when the test in the 9th month said that it would be a girl. We have been taught that with enough of faith, you can even move the mountains. So I kept knocking at the doors of Lord Shiva. I would pray with all the faith, sincerity, and devotion. When the child was born, Lord Shiva had answered our prayers. We were blessed with a baby boy, but there was a problem. The child, though a boy, had female traits. Then I got the summons from Guruji. Trembling with uncertainty, I came into his presence. Go have your langar, Guruji told me when I was ushered in for my first darshan. As ordered, I had my langar, and then, with a mixture of fear and hope, I sat at Guruji's feet, soaking in all the affection that he showered on me. So, you were told that you would have a girl till the 9th month, but you had a boy, he said. I was awestruck. How could Guruji know all this when I am meeting him for the first time? But I nodded in acceptance. Then came his masterly assurance of love, protection, and affection. Do not worry, the child will not have any female traits. Just partake his prasad. And he blessed me. Now my child is healthy boy, and I can never forget his miracle, nor can we imagine our life without praying to Guruji. Jai Guruji. The next satsang we are going to read is narrated by Beetle uncle. The title is Sweet Cure for Diabetes. My mother was in her late 70s. She suffered from diabetes, for which she used to get an insulin injection every day. She also had heart and liver problems, arthritis, and poor digestion. She was hesitant to come to Guruji, since the arthritis hindered her from sitting on the floor. On the family's persuasion, she mustered courage and started coming to Guruji. On the very first day, Guruji gave her a handful of barfi as prasad. With the fact that she had diabetes in the back of her mind, she ate a small piece and kept the rest aside for her children. There was such a big gathering that Guruji possibly couldn't have seen this. But the omniscient Sadguru can see and hear everything, everywhere. He called her to him again and gave her more barfi than earlier and told her to eat it at the Sangat itself. She did so, and soon enough the doctor treating her stopped the insulin injections, something that in the world of medicine is not possible. But as Guruji's devotee says, where science ends, Guruji begins. Her arthritis too showed improvement, and she could bend and cross her legs easily and sit for hours together. And of course, her heart was better, and the doses of the medicines decreased considerably. All this happened without our ever telling Guruji about her problems and seeking his help. There is no doubt that Guruji is present everywhere. He knows everything without our telling him and can do anything. He takes absolute care of all his followers and their problems and does whatever is in their best interest. Jai Guruji. The next satsang we are going to read is by Chavi Jetra Auntie and Sumit Jetra Uncle, and the title is Retrieved from the Clutches of Cancer. We were first blessed with the darshan of Guruji Maharaj in March 1998. I was 25 years old then and had been operated upon for neuroblastoma, a malignant tumor. My life was devastated. A colleague of my mother, both doctors by profession, had told us about the miraculous power of Guruji. But a newcomer like me was naturally skeptical. As directed, we told Guruji about my condition. Guruji's response was, Kalyan Kita, I have blessed you. Little did we realize the impact of these words. When Guruji says something, it is eternal truth. It took us a long time to realize that I had been eternally blessed. I was getting the blessed langar and prasad, which was Guruji's medicine for treating me. And the result was for all to see. Unbelievably, I was on the road of recovery. A couple of months later, the divine healing was confirmed. I had gone for a CT scan 6 months after the operation to check the status of the disease. The scan showed that the 3 suspicious patches on the liver, kidney, and stomach observed in the post operative scan earlier had now disappeared. A miracle with a capital M had just occurred. My body had been retrieved from the clutches of cancer. In due course, with Guruji's blessings, I recovered completely. Today it has been nearly a decade since cancer afflicted me. I have not only shaken off the disease, I retain Guruji's blessings of good health. The only medicines I have been taking are the langar and the chai prasad. The doctors who had been dismissively skeptical of my recovery now tell me to forget that I ever had cancer. They don't need to tell me. I know I have got a new life with the grace of Guruji's blessings. Jai Guruji. The next satsang we are going to read is narrated by Sukhi Auntie, and the title is Guruji, the Akal Purakh. They all know me as Sukhi Auntie, but there was a time when I was really dukhi, deeply sad. I was childless and my Irish husband was jobless in England. I had only one door where I could knock and seek blessings, the Akal Purakh at Harmandir Sahib. I submitted myself there and prayed, bless me with an offspring as you are the only one I can relate to. I prayed. I was blessed with a daughter, but this was a sickly child. I was unhappy again. I decided to come back again at the doorsteps of Akal Purakh. But there was a problem. I was cash strapped and unable to pay for the excess baggage, including medicines needed for my sick child. I was desperate. Then a good soul at the airport allowed me to board the flight without paying excess baggage charges. I prayed at the Akal Purakh in Harmandir Sahib. You have blessed me with a child, but she is sickly. What kind of gift is this? I came back from Amritsar and got a call from Guruji, but I only believed in the Akal Purakh. I hesitantly came Guruji's presence for my first darshan. So you are Sukhi Auntie. Your child is sick and your husband doesn't have a job. You also had a problem at the airport about excess baggage. Never mind all that. Just take this prasad and all will be well, said Guruji. I wondered, how did he know all this and how was he responding when I was only praying to the Akal Purakh? But then people like me were looking for a miracle to survive and it was happening. Guruji had rescued me from the airport and also assured that my child would get well. Now it was my husband's turn. He got an interview call and also the job, but when he came home, he had this to tell. Sukhi, while I was going for the interview, I saw a benign saffron robed person waving and smiling. I was amazed and did a recheck. At the same spot, he was there again. I took him to Guruji's photo. that was with me, he identified that Guruji had blessed him on his way. So Guruji was at airport and he was also there with my husband. My miracles had happened. The surprising part was that I was praying to Akal Purakh and Guruji was answering my prayers. Since then, I'm all for Guruji. Jai Guruji. Jai Guruji. The beautiful words we are going to read was said by Guruji with the title The Ultimate Gift. All through Guruji gave us only two core messages: make a connect and seek the blessings of the Supreme Power. These twin messages encapsulated his wisdom and concern for our spiritual as well as physical well being. Let us walk the path together that shall take us into light. You can do it very simply. Just submit to the Supreme Power with all sincerity. Then the journey on this path will take care of our mundane problems and spiritual well being. You need to first make a connect. If you have accepted me as your Guru, you don't ask for anything, but get connected with me. Once you have made that connect with me, then we have a complete one-to-one bond. All that is yours is with me, and then you don't have to keep always petitioning me and say things like, help me, save my job, help me, get rid of my pain, or please rescue me from this mess, or give me a son. This one-to-one bond is like complete data transfer between two interlinked systems. Each is in sync with the other. You need this rhythm and synchronicity, and Guru shall take care of the rest. You are here in your entirety. You are here with your mind, body, and soul, your pains, your pleasures, your pluses, your minuses. When you and me have complete one-to-one correspondence, your spiritual elevation and liberation from the mundane concerns is my main mission, to connect you with the Supreme Power and seek the ultimate self realization. All of you seek this and that from me. Why don't you ask for the ultimate gift? Seek, and you shall get the blessing of His Supreme Presence. Jai Guruji. Shukrana Guruji. The next satsang we are going to read is narrated by Jaggi Garewal uncle, and the title is Driving into Faith. Mr. Garewal, a businessman, happened to be at his father-in-law's place at the Punjab Agriculture University when Guruji arrived there with some devotees. It was late at night and everybody had langar. Mr. Garewal had to take Guruji back to the temple at Jalandhar. Guruji and he started out in a Maruti 800 and had gone some distance when Mr. Garewal realized that there was very little petrol in the car. He was worried. He was quite sure no petrol pump would be open at that time. It was the early 90s, the heyday of terrorism in the state, and people shut shop quite early. Mr. Garewal also knew that at late night hours, both policemen and terrorists prowled the roads. Sitting next to him, Guruji immediately read his mind and told him not to afraid. Why are you so worried? Mr. Garewal remembers Guruji telling him, we have enough petrol, just keep driving. Mr. Garewal drove on, but he knew the petrol was going to give out sooner rather than later. They had reached Goraya, midway on the Ludhiana-Jalandhar road, since Guruji had spoken when Mr. Garewal felt doubts forcing their way into his mind again. Guruji responded immediately, once again with his reassurance. You are still worried? Keep driving confidently. We have enough petrol. At his words, Mr. Grewal suddenly realized that they had driven 40 kilometers from Ludhiana on an amount of fuel that would not have taken them beyond 4 kilometers. He realized that a divine will was fueling his car, not petrol. Soon they reached the Jalandhar temple without any problems. At the end of the journey, Guruji said, "See, I have driven the car without petrol, but be sure to put petrol in the morning. The car will not run without it then." Mr. Garewal says, after this personal experience of the divine force, he surrendered himself to Guruji. He found that Guruji was not an ordinary saint or a pandit. He is far, far above them. He is the Satguru, the true Guru. Jai Guruji. The next satsang we are going to read is narrated by Geetan Garewal Auntie, and the title is Beetle Leaf Operation on My Cyst. I can still remember the day when I suffered the most unbearable pain in my life. I was 15 years old and we were living in Jalandhar. I was taking a shower and felt a spine-tearing pain in my lower abdomen. It was so bad that I could not even walk. I lay crouched on the floor, calling for my mother. Our first thoughts, as usual, went to Guruji, who held his sangat at Panchkula in those days. We rushed to him that very day. We thought it wise to run a few tests and scans before going to him. We went to PGI Chandigarh and also to a few private clinics. We were shocked when the results came out. I had an ovarian cyst and it had burst. It had let out poisonous liquids into my body, which, if not removed, would be fatal. The doctor suggested immediate surgery, but we did not go for it. We visited Guruji that evening and told him my problem. He gave us his famous and most cute smile and told us not to worry. He used to do part in pan ke patte, beetle leaves, then and put them on the problem area. This was Guruji's way of doing surgery. He did the same to me and told me to lie down to rest for 10-15 minutes. Then he told me to get the test and scan redone the next day. I did as I was told, and having full belief in him, also knew the results. The shocked faces of the doctors only confirmed my belief that I had been blessed by my God, my Guruji. The scans showed no signs of cyst they had revealed only 20 hours ago. The fluid was not visible too. There was joy amidst a lot of surprise. Medical science had to take a bow in front of the divine healing power. The doctors wanted us to share with them our story about our Guruji, and we were more than happy to oblige. They were eager to visit him and thereby start their journey into the world of spiritual bliss. Jai Guruji. Jai Guruji. We are going to read few words about Guruji Maharaj. Guruji, as we know him, was born in his mortal avatar as Nirmal Singh Ji Maharaj in village Dugri in Sangrur district of Punjab on 7th July 1952. Born to parents Shri Mast Ramji and late Srimati Sujit Kaur, he was second born of the three sons and had a younger sister. Little did his parents know that their young son was not an ordinary child but God incarnate. Guruji seemed a normal boy in childhood, but would often give away his powers by seemingly odd incidents like accurately predicting the sex of unborn children or by predicting the outcome of suits filed by people in the court, even at the tender age of 5. One of the earliest known incidents of Guruji's penchant for the spiritual was spending time at the dera of Sant Sevadas ji at Dugri. Sant ji was a saint of high order who had renounced worldly life and had a large following. Guruji would often go and sit at the dera, much to the dislike of the family who wanted him to spend time studying rather than sit among us sages. At times he would be locked inside the room, but soon they would find it unlocked and Guruji would be found sitting with the sages at the dera. The sages would often tell people to leave the young Guruji alone as he was the lord of all the three looks himself and should not be interfered with. Guruji studied at the government primary school Dugri and matriculated from government high school Burthala Mandir on Khanna Road near his village. His schoolmates recall his famous feat of filling empty ink pots by just touching them with his finger. Once during an examination, a classmate asked Guruji for some ink for his pen and Guruji just touched it with his finger to fill it up. He graduated from Government College Malekotla in English, Economics and Political Science. His classmates and teachers have very clear memories of him being a quiet and aloof student, very regular in his studies. He took great pains to suppress his supernatural power in front of others and appear normal, but often would leave his teachers perplexed by his sudden disappearance from the classroom seat and be back the next moment. His classmates remember him knowing all the questions of the paper beforehand. Guruji studied on and on only to fulfill the wishes of his father, who, like any normal father, wanted his son to study till MA. Guruji finally did double MA in English and Economics from Malekotla and Muzaffarnagar. His father recalls that his young son would often help him till the fields and the crop would turn out to be many times more than that of others in the area. By this time, his parents realized that their son was no ordinary person but God Himself. Even his mother started touching his feet and calling him Guruji, as he was now called by everyone. After some time, he left home to fulfill his spiritual journey in this world. He would often appear in the house of one of his acquaintances, stay for a few days and then move off to wherever he felt and even disappear for days at a stretch. At times, there were incidents of his being at two places at the same time. No matter where he stayed, people thronged to him for deliverance from disease or any other problem they had. Soon the news of his powers spread all across Punjab and people sought him out no matter where he was. During the next 10-15 years of his life, say from 1977 to about 1992, he stayed intermittently at Jalandhar, Chandigarh, Panchkula, Delhi, Mumbai, etc. Finally settling down in a house now known at his temple in Defence Colony, Jalandhar. He shuttled between Delhi and Jalandhar till 2002, when he finally settled down in the Empire Estate House on MG Road in New Delhi, known as the Chota Mandir. During the 90s, he also made the Shiv Mandir in Bhatti Mines area in Chhatarpur, known to his devotees as the Bada Mandir. It now houses his Samadhi also. He attained Mahasamadhi in Delhi on 31st May 2007. Guruji, in his short journey on this earth, touched the lives of millions of people, also of those who had never even met him. None remained untouched by his divine blessings in some form or the other. He would read the persona of a devotee by looking at him and knowing all his lives, past, present, and future. He would then bless the person as he thought fit for them. Guruji healed thousands of people, curing them of all kinds of diseases. He helped people to get out of difficulties, giving peace and happiness to all who came to him. He blessed even those who had never even seen him, but their relatives and friends would come to him and beg for his help to overcome their problems. During his Sangat, as were the daily congregations called, melodious Gurbani and Shabad would flow in the hall where the devotees would be sitting on the floor in front of him and meditating. He would bless them not by touching them but by altering the path of their lives merely by his spiritual powers. Often he would cure, heal, or bestow upon his devotees things they did not even think of asking. There were times when he would ask a devotee to stand up facing the congregations and relate his divine experience of Guruji's blessing, which he had been lucky to receive. This was also a way of incalculating faith in the Supreme in case any devotee had any ifs and buts in his mind, as he put it. This was called a satsang. Each sangat would end with a generous helping of langar served to all. Guruji's langar had his divine blessings, and there are endless incidents where devotees would get cured just by partaking it. The same is said about the tea served as prasad during the Sangat. Such were the divine ways of Guruji to spread his powers to the masses. Guruji was Lord Shiva incarnate and had revealed himself in the divine form of many of his devotees. His powers were amazing and devotees thronged for his blessings. Guruji emitted the divine fragrance from his self, which was akin to that of heavenly roses. Even today, long after he is no longer there in his physical form, his fragrance is felt as a proof of his presence very much in the spirit. There were times when Guruji wanted to shower some special blessings upon a devotee. He would materialize the divine prasad from the air and give it to devotee. It would also be reeking of the same divine fragrance of roses or amrit, as he called it. Today, long after Guruji's physical gone from their lives, devotees, old as well thousands of new ones, visit the Bada Mandir to receive his countless blessings day in and day out. He had always said that anyone who entered his temples would be blessed in some measure or the other, something which continues to happen even today. The air is thick with all the new miracles happening, especially to those who have never even seen Guruji. Lucky are those whose lives have actually been touched by him. Jai Guruji. Anantam, Anantam, Anantam Shukrana Guruji.